And the kids that we talked to said it's worth the risk of this journey, which is incredibly treacherous, where they face bandits and drug cartels and just thieves, to get to the border and try their chances in the U.S., even facing possible deportation.
Stephanie Gosk on the heartbreaking journey for so many of these children. And here with me is Chuck Todd. Of course, Chuck, Josh Earnest just said, as you know, at the White House press briefing today, that the president is not going to the border. He doesn't seem to have an answer to the question that David Gregory was asking Jay Johnson at Homeland Security yesterday. Let's play a little bit from Meet the Press.
Will most of these children that we have seen in this desperate situation stay in America, or will they be returned to their homes in Central America?
There is a deportation proceeding that is commenced against illegal migrants, including children.
I'm trying to get an answer to, will most of them end up staying, in your judgment?
I think we need to find more efficient, effective ways to turn this tide around generally, and we've already begun to do that.
Right. What does that mean? Are you saying it's impractical to deport all of them who are here now?
I'm saying that we've already dramatically reduced the turnaround time for the adults, and we're in the process of doing that for the adults with the kids.
Is the goal of the administration to settle as many of these kids in America?
The goal of the administration is to stem the tide.
Stem the tide? How?
Well, look, there's a reason he can't answer the way the law states. This law, which was designed to deal with human trafficking, the law states that these kids do have to stay until they get their immigration hearing. And he, as a public official, can't prejudge. So there's some legal reasons why why everybody, the administration, sounds so ambiguous on this question. But I'll tell you, this is where the common sense is sort of missing from what they're saying, which is they're not just speaking English here to people. Are these folks going to get deported or not? History says most of them won't.
Well, the fact is that this administration has deported record numbers, which has alienated some of their own.
Record number of Mexicans. And that's because the law is different. And now, look, I do think the law is going to get changed. What he's saying, if you read between the lines, and I know this from my own reporting, is that they're looking for a change in that law, in that 2008 law, Democratic Congress, Republican president, that basically created this exception.
But there is an exception for political refugees.
That's right.
Do they qualify as a political refugee if they're escaping the gang violence from the cartel?
And that's a question, I believe, our colleague, Ms. Chomiak, bugged the State Department about last week, and they won't answer that question because that adds more. Now, that's supposed to be part of the immigration trial, if you want to call it that, or the review that you get. Is this political asylum? What is this that you're asking for? And, you know, given our politics when it comes to political asylum in the past in Latin America, if they make that case, it's hard to imagine we're going to send it back.
It's becoming a horrendous political problem as well for the president.
Well, nobody wants to deal with it. Look, you're going to get this $2 billion. He's going to get the money he needs. He's probably going to get the supplemental. They have to send their formal request sometime this week. They're probably going to change the law in order to speed up, because if he's going to do anything on immigration outside of this, politically he's going to need the cover of looking like he's tougher on this deportation issue with these Central American migrants. It's a sticky. Put it this way, there's not a Democrat in a red state that wants immigration on the campaign trail.
Chuck Todd, thank you so much. And stick around, because for more on this national debate, we're joined now by Congressman Luis Gutiérrez, chairman of the Immigration Task Force of the Democratic and Hispanic Caucuses, a member of the Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on Immigration. Congressman, you've heard it all. What is the solution? Our hearts are breaking for these children, yet you know where the Republican House members are. They want border enforcement, and the president is caught going into midterm elections between the Hispanic caucus on one side and the red state Senate candidates on the other.
Sure. Protect the children, keep them in a safe place. That's the tradition of America. That's why I love this country. That's why you and I are so fortunate we were born here. I know we think that each and every day, and follow our American tradition. So first of all, let's make clear of one thing. I watched Meet the Press, and I watched the whole thing, and I got to tell you, I understand Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson. I respect him a great deal, but the fact is he told us they are detained and they are in removal proceedings leading to deportation if they do not win their case. Now, there's going to be, Andrea, actually two separate groups of people, right? They're going to be the adults with children. They're treated one way, and then the unaccompanied children. And I just want to make clear that when I saw my friend and colleague, Raul Labrador, who's a lawyer, and a lawyer who has done a lot of immigration work as a lawyer back in Idaho, state that he just wants the president to ignore the law, I was almost flabbergasted. On the one hand, they say he doesn't follow the law, that he's an emperor and a dictator. And on the other hand, when he does follow the law, when it comes to unaccompanied minors, they say that he should just forget about the law. The fact is, 1997 Supreme Court decision, that's when the old INS said, we're going to put these children, 72 hours after we receive unaccompanied minors, we're going to put them with Health and Human Services. In 2002, it was Dick Armey's legislation, Homeland Security, that said, Health and Human Services are going to have to take these children. And then again, as Chuck Todd told us, 2008, Bush signed the law. And this is to protect children. So let's remember what we're doing, and shame on people for simply ignoring the law to score cheap political points against children and minors arriving in the United States of America.
Well, Congressman, let me play a little bit of Raul Labrador, your Republican congressional colleague from Idaho.
The thing this administration needs to do is immediately deport these families, these children. I know it sounds harsh. I know it sounds difficult. But they're creating a crisis at this time that is actually going to harm these children.
So it's better to send them back?
Yeah, you know, here's the real problem that we have here, is that no one wants to deal, Andrea, with the facts. You know, they're not coming from Belize. They're not coming from Panama. They're not coming from Costa Rica. And we know they're not coming from Mexico because we have a different treatment when it comes to Mexican children coming unaccompanied. We simply send them back, right? So they're coming from 3 countries. And as you put at the very beginning, at the top of the show, Honduras is the murder capital of the world. But listen, it's followed by El Salvador and Guatemala. Now, I just want you to think one moment. The former police chief of Guatemala on the first week of last month, was found guilty of murder, number 1. Number 2, there was a coup d'etat in Honduras. There is no government. If you go to the State Department, we might not know, they might not be very clear about what's going to happen with these children. I will tell you, most of them will lose their petitions for asylum, and most of them will be deported from the United States of America. That's the sad situation, because those are our laws. But having said that, think about it a moment. Go to the State Department right now, and what does it say? Don't go to Honduras. Don't go to Guatemala. The police will not protect you. And if an American citizen is being told by its own State Department that we cannot rely on the police to protect us, imagine what happens to the vulnerable girls and children that make that long trek. They are murdered, they are raped, and they are put into human bondage. And so I think what we should say to ourselves is, we have a humanitarian crisis. Last, I think this is an important point that the American people must come to understand. The fact that there is so little cohesion in those governments and so little protection are the drug cartels. How do the drug cartels maintain their power? With American guns, bought with American dollars, because of American consumption of the drugs. The drugs don't stay in Honduras. They don't stay in Mexico. They come straight to the streets of the United States of America. And so I think we have a great responsibility in the debilitating of those countries. And yes, there were civil wars. Last point. Why aren't they coming from Nicaragua? Andrea, why aren't they coming? I can give you an answer, because in 1997, we said to all the Nicaraguans that were here, we're going to treat you like Cuban refugees because you were fighting against the Sandinistas. So we're going to treat you like you were fighting against Fidel Castro. And by the year 2000, all of those Nicaraguans, tens of thousands of them, had already applied for American citizens, and they have brought their children and their families here. Look, this is a broken system. It's a lot more complicated, but shame on people who want to exploit children. You know, listen, if the president follows the law, which is what he's doing, and that's what I would say to my friend Raul, he's following the law, a law that you know very well. You want to change the law? I'm here. I'm ready. Let's sit down at a table and let's get this done together.
Congressman, thank you very much. Thanks for the history and the perspective. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And another danger now.